Good evening. I hope you've all been having a gorgeously great spooky season, and what better way can I celebrate that than showing off some freaky families of Fakemon for my fan project based around the western continents, Pokemon Terrestrial Takeover, some of which I've been sitting on for more than a year, and others like 2 months. So please, sit back and enjoy, please like, subscribe, I hope you all have a frightening good time. This video is going to be filled with plenty of regional forms, some that will send a shiver down your spine, others will make you sick in the stomach, some so monstrous you won't even want to look at them, and others so frightening they'll... Okay, I couldn't think of a good thing for the script here, but you get the point. Either way, here are the 2 base forms of the families that we're showing off here, and just stick around, you'll get a sneak peek at their more ghoulish evolved forms. Here we have Wimorian Appen and Wimorian Wishy Washy, Ice Poison type, and Dragon type respectively. Now, let's start with the Appen family. Being an Ice Poison type, it pulls from the famous poison apple trope, and relating that to the story of Snow White makes the typing a really fun story to tell. However, the Ice typing also comes from the ghost apple phenomena. It's a story that came out of the state of Michigan of freezing rain falling onto apple trees for so long that the apples inside eventually rotted and fell out, leaving an icy shell behind, a ghostly homage to the fruit. But there is another kind of ghost apple that's just a normal apple, but it's just pale white in color, almost like a ghost. And they're commonly grown in orchards in the States, but all this talk of apples reminds me of a story of an apple that could kill a man with just a bite. An apple where the mere air around it is so toxic to breathe. An apple so dangerous that a raindrop that slid off of it would cause severe blistering. The manzanilla de la muerte, the little apple of death, the manchineel. Everything I just mentioned is true. This little devil grows in Mexico, and it's what this apple has decided to crawl into. However, it can withstand the poisons for longer than most Pokemon, since it's based on the black spiny iguana, one of the few creatures to be immune, and even eat the manchineel fruit. But not every applet is capable of handling the harshness of the poison. But what choice does it have? It needs to get out of the icy environment it lives in, so several stay put, and eventually pass away and evolve. As the souls of these poor applet try to leave the earthly plane, they get stuck in the icy shell and the rotting poisonous flesh of the fruit, warping their now ghostly bodies into the ice ghost Wimorian Flapple, or the poison ghost Wimorian Appleton. Both forms take inspiration from the Mexican culture surrounding death, given where the manchineel is located. I can't wait to talk about it. Flapple's first, having the serpentine body and wings like the Mesoamerican god Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, however, has nothing to do with death. There falls on the shoulders of Mictecacatl, the Lady of the Dead. She's from Aztec mythology, and her role is to watch over the bones of the dead, hence the spine and skull-shaped eyes along Flapple's back and head. She also lords over the ancient festivals that eventually became the Day of the Dead, and a very important flower for such an event is the marigold, which is thought to attract the souls to ofrendas, which are essentially shrines to the dead to celebrate them. But back to marigolds. Flapple has similar feathers all over its body to him, as it tries to lead the lost souls of Applins away from the frozen environment they perished in. But our regional Appleton has a similar marigold color on the candle-like wisp on its head, and dotted around the gooey poisons clinging to its bloated corpse. These spots are also similar to the Gila monster, a thick, splotchy lizard with a deadly, venomous bite. But before Appen evolved in this region, the soul got stuck in the thick poisons after it passed, with bits of it leaking out the top, like the skull candles found in dark dramas. This is actually its head, and those are its eyes, taking inspiration from sugar skulls and the sugary decorations. Its purple goo tastes like the sweetest treat you could ask for, but would kill anyone in less than an hour if they ingest it. Make this Pokemon very solitary so it doesn't harm anyone. Thankfully, living in a cold, mountainous environment makes it easy to preserve its rotting body, and to stay away from anything that would hurt. But there is one Pokemon these Appleton aren't afraid to approach. It's the brand new, 3rd evolution of Wimorian Appen. It's the only one that shares its unique typing. And by the way, I made these way before Scarlet and Violet were even announced, let alone Dipplin in the DLC, so shut up. Anyway, Sigwarden comes about from the very few Appen decide to go through hell and back by leaving the manchineel to try and fend off the poison in the frigid cold, only re-entering the manchineel whenever it absolutely has to. adapting more and more to the cord and poison to the point it can stay tethered to the land of the living and evolve. It takes a lot more from the black-spotted iguana, namely the blown-up dewlap under its neck that mimics a sore throat. See, Saguna is always sluggish and sick, with its new ability Toxic Body to spread its illness to any Pokemon that it contacts with, spreading it around like a plague. It has plenty of other design elements that tie into sickness as well. The patterns on its face look like a runny nose and watering eyes. It has a pattern of latex gloves on its legs. The icy coat creeping up its spine, stretching down to look like ribs. And if we look down there at the end of its tail, you can still see the Manchineel, the source of its sickness, but also its poisonous abilities. No one knows what happens if Saguna loses that fruit, but researchers have been looking into it. Its name comes from sick, iguana, and Manchineel, but also Komodo from the Komodo dragons that are known for having a deadly, bacterial bite, something shown by Saguna's venomous tongue that hangs out of it like it's saying "ah" at the doctor's office. But sick they may be, they are just kinda like big puppy dogs, never wanting to hurt anyone and just wanting to play. And that's the last of the regional Appen family. Now it's time for this angry little twerp, a dragon type with more in Wishy Washy. It's a small, angry fish with sharp teeth. It's obviously a piranha, which aren't as aggressive as the media makes them out to be, but they're still dangerous and plenty horrifying. Wishiwashi, though it's hyper-temperamental, has a touch of little man syndrome and sees most things as an enemy or food. It's based on the red-bellied piranha specifically, but it also has a very cartoony fish skeleton design making up its purple head and scales. You know how piranhas will typically skeletonize and swarm around anything in a matter of seconds in movies and media? Yeah, that's what that's based on. And alone, these little guys will draw blood for sure. But if Wishiwashi is known for anything, it's strength in numbers. Get them riled up enough, and they'll call their friends, forming schooling when Rorian Wishiwashi. It becomes a massive dragon head with a cloud of stragglers behind it. If these Pokemon were more cooperative, they could form an entire dragon and wreak havoc in the waters. But that's not how they swim. They all want a taste of the prey, all trying to be around the mouth that chomps down and shreds whatever's inside like a blender. A monster of the murky rivers of the region. But it pales in comparison to some others. When a lone Wishiwashi is in a swarm and it's deprived of any food, it grows weaker and weaker, growing angrier and angrier, until it eventually either dies or lets the wrath consume it and awaken its primal abilities. There was once something called a mega piranha in ancient times, basically a piranha, but the length of an adult arm. Another ancient fish is the Dunkleosteus, a monster with a massive, bony head and jaw, and it's what inspired the Galarian Vish fossil and the Alolan schooling Wishiwashi. But when mixed with the bloodlust and wrath of Wimorian Wishiwashi, it becomes a Naramal. The only solid parts of its body are its bony head, skeleton, and tail fin. The rest is simple ectoplasm that's been stained red with the blood of its prey. It does have a small tie to the big riverman Martin Strel, who is famous for swimming the longest rivers in the world, including the Amazon, while drinking wine every day from his home country as part of his diet. Naramal's tail even looks like the top of a wine bottle and its cork. And of course, the wine needs to age, just like the grudge this Pokemon holds. Even after death, referenced by the X-shaped pupils it shares with its pre-evolved form, and with a massive mouth and teeth like these Pokemon has been known to terrorize stretches of river and devour boats, turn the water red with its ectoplasm and blood of anyone unlucky enough to be nearby. Have a happy Halloween, everyone.